Hi everybody, this is Dave on the Out of Our Minds YouTube channel. As you can see, I am driving once again, so I apologize for not looking at the camera all the time. On my way home, it is Sunday afternoon, and about an hour ago I left Soul Quest, the Church of Ayahuasca. I have some previous videos of my experience there so far, and if you haven't seen those, go ahead and watch those before you watch this one, or don't. Doesn't matter. This is after the second night of my ayahuasca ceremony, and again, no words, maybe one. That would be wow. The second night was totally different, and I would say about 10 times more intense. For those of you who aren't familiar with ayahuasca, it's a plant drug that comes from the Amazon jungle down in Peru, Costa Rica. It's made up of two plants that, when combined and prepared together, you drink this kind of brownish, I don't want to call it sludge, but kind of is sludgish, and it basically enters into your bloodstream and eventually gets into your brain and opens up a portal to the spiritual realms. It's the best way I can explain it, and believe me when I say it's technically a hallucinogenic, but you are in the spiritual realm under this plant medicine. It is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced. A couple things were a little bit different during this session for me. Number one, I took 2 doses up front. First night I only had 1 dose, which is basically a little shot glass, and so the second night, instead of 1, I took 2 doses. And just like the first night, nothing really happened for about 2 hours. I kind of dozed in and out, going to sleep. After 2 hours, you have the option of getting what they call a booster, which is basically another shot. You go up to the shaman, get another shot, go back to your little mat area. They have mats all around this big area inside it's kind of like a big yurt. Everybody knows what a yurt is. And I was planning on taking the booster. So they play the gong, and that's your cue to go get your boost. Wasn't feeling anything up until that point, and as soon as I kind of I leaned up on my mat, was getting ready to stand up and walk, it hit me. 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds. Laid back down and told myself, okay, you don't need the booster. Was instantly just bombarded with this vision of constantly moving and changing fractals. Only this time it was about 10 times more intense, 10 times sharper. These fractals, they're like little, they kind of look like little beads. I don't know if you can see this, but this is from Guatemala, from the shaman. I bought this from him. These little beads are about as similar as to the fractals that I can explain, and it's a huge. They're playing on a huge screen inside your mind. So you know you're surrounded by these things, and they're constantly changing shapes, changing colors, forming pictures, forming scenes. Sometimes little eyes open up and look at you. Sometimes kind of obscure faces show up. And this time it was so intense that for a few minutes I felt like I forgot how to breathe. And I kept telling myself, just breathe, it's okay, it's okay. And they tell you, the guides and the facilitators at the retreat will tell you that, hey, sometimes Mother Ayahuasca, which is what they call the plant medicine, Mother Ayahuasca, will take you down very, very intense, experiences to help you. It's all about healing. It's all about letting go of past hurt, blocks in our psyche, and Mother Ayahuasca knows what's best for you and how to administer her medicine. So I realized that in the middle of this really intense, hard to breathe moment, and I got through it. I started to calm down. I started breathing normally. About that time, I don't know how long that lasted, but at that time it felt like the medicine was wearing off, and boy was I wrong. So I sat up and kind of just sat cross-legged on my mat and thought I was coming down off the medicine, and then the second wave hit, and the next thing you know, what I saw in the area that I was in, with all, they have staff and facilitators all around, walking all around, keeping an eye on us. It's a safe place. They're there to help us if we need it and all that. But what I saw was otherworldly. I kind of knew that where I was, that I was still at Soul Quest, and I was still in the area where I'd taken the medicine and all that. But at the same time, the vision that I was seeing was absolutely otherworldly, a spiritual dimension that I can't even explain. All the facilitators that were walking around, they normally wear white robes or a white outfit, so you can recognize them. easily. And all I can say is that each and every one of them were a form of some kind of alien being or entity with no face. They had no faces. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I was at the peak of it. I totally was convinced that I was on another astral plane or some spiritual realm or another planet. And I just bought into the whole thing, and I was looking intensely at everyone that walked past me. Now they're taught to not to interact with us as we're going through our journey. It's our journey, and we have to work our way through it. It's only if they see us really struggling, or if we ask for help or something. But for the most part, they leave you alone. They make sure that you're okay, but they leave you alone. This is your experience with the plant medicine, and they don't want to mess that up in any way. And again, like I said in my previous video, there's no way I can accurately describe what I went through, but I was just sitting there in awe of these beings that I was watching. And you know, I finally kind of got tired again, so I kind of put my head down as if I was going to maybe nod off or something like that. And then this feeling of sickness came over me, and I started feeling it all over my body, and I knew it was time for me to finally purge. In the first session, the only purging I did was called a lion yawn, where you just yawn constantly throughout the evening. And I never once threw up, which a lot of people do, and I hadn't at that point. Well, I knew it was my time. So, you know, there's always a bucket at the end of your mat. So I grabbed it, I was holding on to it. I remember kind of holding the bucket like I was hugging it, and looking into it, and I saw a really cool galaxy, space galaxy kind of scene in it. And my first thought was, I don't want to mess this up by throwing up in this awesome scene in my bucket. Again, crazy. But finally, I put the bucket down, got on all fours, and I just let it happen. And as soon as I did, a couple of the staff came over with paper towels, laid them beside me so that I could have something kind of wipe my face and blow my nose and all that kind of stuff. And I'd say after about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, it was over. Don't want to get too graphic, but I guess what purging is just all of the past junk, all of the trauma, or most of it anyway, from your childhood and into your adulthood, comes up, and you let that go, and it's gone out of you, hopefully forever. So once that was done, I just sat back down and just kept watching the show of these aliens with no faces, walking here and there and sitting down. They would sometimes they would come together, they would walk towards each other, stop in front of each other, and then put their heads together, put their foreheads together. And I was just mesmerized by this. I was just like, what are they doing? On the other side of this room, this big round room, there were always 3 of the staff sitting in these chairs. Well, they didn't look like staff. They looked like alien councilmen or something. And they were always leaning into each other, and I couldn't, of course, they were too far away for me to hear anything. Plus, there's tribal music blasting through the speakers, and spiritual music and all that. But they just always looked like they were contemplating, or they were discussing something. What they were discussing, I don't know. Now, in my state of just thinking I was in another realm, I started to believe that what I was watching was a play. And I started to wonder, I wonder if I'm in this play, and if I am, what's my role? What do I do? And but no one would come over. Somebody would walk past me, and I would kind of wave at them, and they would just ignore me and go on, and either go hug another staff member or put their forehead together. And at one point I was kind of pissed off. I was just like, so nobody's going to help me. Nobody's going to tell me what I'm supposed to do. And the answer is no. No, they weren't going to. This was my journey. I had to figure this out. I had to endure this. So there you have it. A lot of things. At one point, I did wave down one of the staff members, and I asked him. I said, "Is there any way I could go outside so I could see the sky? I wanted to look at the sky with this vision that I was seeing of, everything was hyper real. Everything kind of had a weird 3D quality to it, almost like if anybody's old enough to remember those 3D glasses that you used to put on, and kind of made 2-dimensional things look a little fuzzy and blurry, but looked 3D. And I wanted to see the sky, so he helped me up, and basically I wobbled my way outside by the fire pit, and I just looked at the sky, and I probably looked up for at least 5 minutes. It was a little chilly, so I couldn't stay out there very long. And the sky was just clear as a bell. I saw all the stars that you normally see, but I saw them 10 times brighter. And I also noticed a sort of a webbing in between the stars. It was almost like each star was interconnected by this thin little line, these thin little lines that looked like kind of like a spider web or a web, and it was just awe-inspiring. But then I started getting cold, so I asked to go back in, and continued watching the alien creatures with no face. One of the guys there, he was a volunteer. They have a lot of volunteers that show up that help over the weekend. He had to have been at least 7 foot tall, and he looked exactly like Jesus. And I was kind of enamored with him. Every time he walked past me, I was just like so fascinated, because he looked like Jesus. Jesus with kind of a distorted face, but he's the only one that when I looked at him, I actually saw a face. It was a little off, but everybody else, even if they came up to me and were just a few inches away, they had no face. And a woman came up one time and said, she put her hand on my head, my forehead, and she said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Well," I remember this. She said, "Well, you don't have a face, but I guess I'm doing okay." And she sort of laughed and said, "You're fine. You're safe. You're fine. It's okay." And then she went away. At some point, I drifted off to sleep, and I think I woke up around 5 in the morning, and the medicine had worn off. Now, it's still in me. The medicine stays in you for days, but the effect of it had worn off, and I could see regular. And so I went, picked up my blankets, whatnot, and I walked to my cabin, where I got in the bed and slept till about 9 o'clock in the morning this morning. And that's it. After that, I had some herbal tea and a couple bites to eat, and then we had a closing ceremony with everybody. Got to get in our little integration groups and kind of talk about what we experienced last night, and how we want to stay connected from here on out. They have awesome integration families that you can keep in touch with. And I think they meet over Skype and stuff like that. So definitely going to do that. So that's kind of it. I mean, there's it was totally awesome. I'm gonna do it again, and I would just encourage anybody that listens to my videos about it, where I butcher, basically, trying to describe my experience. Look it up. Ayahuasca. You can look it up on YouTube. There's lots of documentaries, testimonials, and what they say is, you don't find ayahuasca when you're ready. Mother Ayahuasca finds you, and that's definitely how it happened to me 4 months ago, when I became aware, and I mean really aware, of what this plant medicine is and does. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. I know a little bit about it, and shamans have been administering this medicine for thousands of years. It's an ancient plant medicine, and it's pretty amazing. I feel great, and I also know that in time, in the next few weeks, in the next few months even, that some of the things that I can't even process right now from my experiences in the ceremonies will start to come to light, and things will start to make more sense, and I'll hopefully take that information and just be able to improve on myself. It's all about self-improvement. It's all about learning who we are, what we are, where we are. And believe me, where we are here on Earth is only one place. There are many, many, many different realms, planes out there, spiritual planes, and right now, this is where we're at, and it's awesome but this isn't where we stay. We may come back, you know, many times, but this is not where we're from. We're here just visiting, and we're taking on these physical bodies to just experience what it's like to be in the 3D world of limitations. You know, the limitations are that I can't, you know, if I'm driving here and I want to be home now, I have to keep driving. I can't just will myself to show up at the house, you know, like you can in the spiritual world. So, and that's, you know, that's all by design. We come here knowing that this is going to be a you know, a world of physical limitations, and that we have to physically move through it to achieve things and get from here to there. So, the place I went to again is called Soul Quest Church of Ayahuasca. Look it up. Call them. They have an awesome staff there that will talk to you and kind of give you some information if you want it. And yeah, my weekend with ayahuasca in the books. It was a birthday gift from my wife, so thank you. And this channel is going to be dedicated to just empowering myself and others, and becoming more enlightened. I study and read and listen to a lot of lectures by a man named Neville Goddard, and you know, there's answers out there. You just have to really got to really search. But once you do, and your eyes are open, you'll never go back. Never go back. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.